Brian Mercer. I don't think I can introduce myself. It's the first time from Whitehorse, Yukon, and I'm a contract biologist that's been involved with the transboundary stockhead enhancement program basically from the beginning, and worked on a few other projects, but mostly on the Tatsamenie project. So we've seen a lot of high budget operations and projects, but this is the complete opposite here with this one, so it's be a little bit different. I think where we got there. From 1990 to 97, the enhancement, stockhead enhancement project at Tatsamenie centered around the take, and there was very limited assessment of what was being produced from the fry out plants into the lake. Those assessments, we did some basic limnology, some zooplankton hauls, and beach staining for fry, looking for the thermal mark fry, and hydroacoustic surveys as well. In the fall, pretty much just limited to 2 hydroacoustic surveys in the fall to look at the fall fry population, and as well as mid-lake trawling at the same time, and we typically did that during the egg take as well. And there's limited smolt sampling, which was just consisted of a grab sample, usually a one overnight grab sample at the time. There was you know, the budgets were allocated to the egg takes, and there was very little money left for any evaluation studies. The idea was just to look at what the adult returns were going to be, monitor the zooplankton population, see if there's any changes as a result of the outplants, and that was about it. So after 8 years into the program, it was obvious that the adult returns from the enhancement was somewhat underwhelming, I should say. As a matter of fact, some of the years the production was less than what would have been if we just let those fish spawn on their own. So that was presented to the transboundary panel results, but the consensus, I wouldn't say the consensus of the panel, but the opinion of the panel, because there's lots of detractors of the project. The opinion of the panel was that yes, we want to continue looking at this program, and because the original model said that we should be able to produce 100,000 fish out of this system, that you know, it's just a technical issue that should be able to be resolved. But, that was the direction from the panel, but there really wasn't any money to examine this initially. In 1998, though, we began a series of investigations into and research into the basic limnology of the lake and the fry behavior and predator-prey interactions, and that ramped up in 2000, 2001. And of course, we started looking at different outplant techniques at that time, and to these different outplant groups were differentially marked, of course, with thermal marks, so we could track them. So we really needed a method of quantifying these different outplant strategies and the success from it. In the past, we'd use the hydroacoustic based estimates, the fall fry estimates, to calculate forward to what the estimated smolt production would be the following spring, and the enhanced versus wild component was derived from the mid-water trawls, and those the data didn't really track with the known results. In some years, we'd actually get twice as many enhanced smolts than actually fry that were put in the lake the previous year. So it was, and the problem wasn't so much the hydroacoustics, it was actually capturing those fry in the mid-water trawls because of selective capture or the smaller size classes of the fish. So we weren't getting a representative sample. So we looked at how we could estimate the smolt population a little bit better. And of course, there wasn't really too much funding, but a bit of funding came from GFO Whitehorse from the stock assessment, and we chose a mark for capture technique because, of course, we had to look at the out-migration at the outlet of Tatsamenie Lake. It's fairly large, low regimes from the lake, especially at high water, too large for an inclined plane. And as I mentioned before, there's sort of wilderness values associated with the area where we had to keep our footprint fairly small. There certainly wasn't the budget for a large smolt type operation or the ability to do that. So we basically just went for a low-tech mark for capture program there using a graduated flight plan. I'll just step back a little bit. Typically, the ice goes out at Tatsamenie around mid-May, and that range can be from May 7th through to May 28th. And of course, with a marker capture, you're going to capture the fish at the outlet, and the idea was to transplant them back into the lake, and that's a bit of an issue when you have ice in the lake. Budgets were small, so we were able to get in there, squeak in there with the float plane before the ice went out. And the first year we started trapping, and we were there a week before the ice went out. And as it turned out, it looks like this population, the smolts don't out-migrate at a set time period. It's dependent on when the ice goes out, which is very convenient because we wouldn't have been able to operate the project if that wasn't the case. And we've been there from May 7th through to May 28th, and we've trapped up to 12 days before the ice went out with just very few smolts. You're looking at maybe half a dozen smolts a day. When the ice goes out, it seems like you can see a quick turnover of the lake. The water temperature is 1-2 degrees before the ice goes out, and then it shoots up to 4. Probably the turnovers happen then, and then the smolts start to go out. It seems like a lot of these northern ice covered lakes, the photo period determines when the smolts go out. But in this case, it seems to be driven by the smolts, or by the ice out time. But just to trap, very, very simple, a couple of wings on the side, and the smolts get funneled into a box, and they get dipped out, of course, just into a pail, and we put them in an anesthetic bath with MS-222, and there we put the marks on the fish. And this year, for the first few years, we tried a lot of different marking techniques, various dyes, of course. We did tattoo ink and dental inoculators, a whole host of marking techniques we looked at, and we ended up using staple tags, which at that time were still being used at the Bathine smolt fence for their marking and capture. It's a less than ideal, but it certainly it was a marking method where the tags were in place, and you could color code the tags up to 12 different marks, and so it suited our purposes. Our intention was to stratify the population, and so we could get population estimates based on weekly strata at the very least. So we needed several different marks, and we found that the smolts would typically out-migrate about 4 to 5 days. The bulk of them would be gone from the lake again in 4 to 5 days after we place them back in the lake, but some would take longer, and so our rotation time was typically set along 10 to 12 days. In 2000, we started using a 2-part injectable elastomer probably most people are familiar with this now. It's manufactured by Northwest Marine Technology. And it's, it's relatively fast, it's benign, it's indelible. It's somewhat cryptic, but readily detectable. And also when you're examining the smolts at nighttime, of course, like most smolts, most of them run at night, and it's easy to see the mark when you're examining those fish under UV, if that's the case. Just a couple of different marks. We like I say, we had 4 different colors and that we use, and 3 different mark types on the fish, and so that gives us 12 different marks. Our target is 300 marks per day, and like I say, we go over a 12-day cycle. And once the fish are marked, we place them in a transport tub and transport them down the lake about 4 kilometers, and we release them. We release them along a transect, about a 2-kilometer transect in the lake, and release about 15 fish at a time, about 20 to 30 meters apart. And the idea is to random mix these marked smolts within the unmarked smolt population. Of course, you have to examine the smolts as well. The accuracy of the model increases, of course, with more tagged and the more examined up to a point, of course. So we would our target is to examine 3,000 smolts a day if that's the number caught. In low smolt years, it's typically lower than that. But that's basically how we examine them, either in the daytime or at nighttime if you've got large numbers and you have to empty the trap at night. And just divide a fish toad into 6 different areas and look for the marks. Our typical recapture rate is 4 to 5%. Even if the smolt trap occupies 30 to 40% of the river, there's a high avoidance of the smolts coming down, and you can see that they come down and they'll hang around the mouth of the trap, and they'll often go out and go downstream on either side of the wing. So there is a high level of avoidance. The standard mark recapture assumptions for any mark recapture project, the first 5 we're pretty certain that those assumptions are met. The 6th assumption, the marking didn't affect catchability. Well, it's very difficult to measure that. So I mean, these are 2 assumptions, 6 and 7, that there's no differential predation or marking didn't affect catchability, i.e. there's did more marked fish avoid the trap than unmarked fish. That's pretty much impossible to determine. And there are a few glitches, that any mark recapture program is never perfect, and we found that some of the tags would stay beyond that 2-day period, but if you can tag 300 a day, it doesn't affect the overall population estimated if a tag is assigned to the next period. And starting in brood year 2008, when we started to tag 0+ smolts going out, we saw a very small percentage of those tag fish are pulled over to the next year. And we noticed that when we started the smolt project next year, we'd see these marks that hadn't been put in that year. But the numbers were very, very low. And of course, we had to do smolt sampling. We wouldn't let just anyone do that. There's a representative smolt sampling for each strata. And typically we'd aim for 500 to 1,000 smolts samples over the course of the run. We'd sample for scales, for aging, and for the otolith mark, we take the head and length and weight as well. And one thing I actually haven't mentioned is that I didn't want to show it, but we do this 12-day period, and so you're looking at the marks recovered for every day over that 12-day period, and then you repeat those 12-day cycles. so you can build up a matrix, and when you do, you stratify the population by the catches or the population estimates by week, then it's possible to get a population each week, and you have to make sure that you get a representative sample from that week period, that week as well. And this is just a typical smolt capture, not a population estimate by time period, but just the smolt capture over the period of the run. And as you typically see in most outmigrating sockeye smolt populations, that peaks in the spring and tapers off. And prior to 2008, we ended the program at the end of June every year, and just assuming that that was about it. Typically, that's the case in most systems. But after 2008, we started to run it because we were feeding fry at the location. We had a crew there that kept the smolt trap in, and mostly to monitor if there's any of these 0+ or any of these fry that were released into the lake that were passively flushed out. As it turned out, I'll talk about this a little bit in the next talk, I guess, we actually started to see some 0+ smolts go out in the end of July, beginning of August, and these 0+ smolts were not only enhanced smolts but also wild smolts, and they're a component of the population we never realized were there. And you don't think of 0+ Lake Irving sockeye smolts. And basically, this is just an example of a typical year, showing the numbers we catch, the numbers we tag, and the tags recovered, and a population estimate. We use the SPAS model, which is just an open source software for program. It was developed by Carl Schwartz at SFU. And it's a very simple model that allows you to stratify the population. It gives you several different estimators and gives you standard error around the final estimate, and allows you to manipulate the different strata, because some of the strata you'll have very few marks either put on or very few marks recovered, so you can pool those strata and you can get a tighter confidence limit. And this is just a basic table showing the populations, or the proportions, I should say, from the total populations based on the sampling. And here we've got, I think, 7 different cohorts we're looking at, and then you get a population estimate for each cohort. From that, you can do a smolt population run reconstruction, and this is just a typical one I showed. So I think this is, we got there about 7 cohorts to 3 different age classes for the wild, and different treatment groups for the enhanced component. And that's just the population estimates from starting from '96 through to 2012. Those earlier ones are actually based on the hydroacoustic estimates. So we didn't start until 1998. So I think that's it.